right before me thanking him for his service, I said that he sets a good example for elected officials in that just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. And that part was omitted. I'd like it added back in.
Okay.
That's it.
Nolani, is that seems
Julie
like
noted. Thank you,
Okay.
Chair.
Okay. Great. Any other comments or discussion? Okay, hearing none.
I make a motion to move as submitted with the edit.
Excellent. Do we have a second?
Sure.
Thank you, Judy Gitlo. Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor of approving the November 18th, 2020 CAC meeting minutes with the revision per Sue Lester's comment, say aye.
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 Any opposed? I forgot to say aye. Aye, no opposed. Any abstentions?
I'm going to abstain. I was not able to attend the meeting.
Okay. Okay, great. The motion carries. Right. Okay, thank you, everyone. Next on the agenda is item B3, the Sewer System Management Plan, the Ssmp self-audit. Nabila, will you be kicking this off?
Madam Chair, I'll be doing the introduction, and then we'll have our guest speaker take over. So thank you, Madam Chair, and Citizens Advisory Committee. So as you might recall, the Sewer System Management Plan is a document that every public agency that owns and operates at least 1 mile of sewer collections has to adopt a plan at Ssmp. And it's basically a plan it describes how the agency is going to prevent sewer spills. And that is a law requirement. The regulations require that we have to have a plan. As part of those regulations, a self-audit has to be done on the plan every 2 years to determine the effectiveness of that plan. And what's the plan, that requirement does not stipulate how you do that audit. In other words, you can do the audit internally by yourself, by staff, which is done. But my only concern was is how can you be subjective when you're evaluating yourself, right? So I always am in the belief that it's best to go outside to get a third party person or firm to come in and look at our plan. And so that's what we did. We've always done this. We went out and solicited RFPs, requests for proposals. We did receive 2 environmental or EEC environmental engineering consulting services. They were the low bid. They also have experience performing audits. They've done our audits in the past, so we did enter a contract with them. So they began this audit in November, and now tonight, Joe Jenkins from EEC is going to be giving a presentation to the CEC on his findings, and then we're seeking comments or any suggestions from the CEC after Joe's presentation. So I will turn it over to Joe.
Great, thank you, Scott. So are you gonna put the presentation up on the...
Joe, would you like me to put the presentation up the way we did the last time, or would you like me to share your screen?
I think the way we did it last time worked fine.
You got it, thank you.
Great. Yeah, so thank you for the introduction, Scott, and thank you for everyone for having me today. And we can get right into the first real slide here. So a little introduction on EEC Environmental and the staff that were involved in the internal audit. I was the primary auditor. I'm a project regulatory specialist at EEC. And we had Jim Kolk, who's a senior project engineer with us, and Keith Silva, who's our regulatory expert. Keith is retired from the EPA. He spent 30 years with the EPA, so he has a lot of experience with the WDR and regulatory audits in general. EEC has conducted a lot of previous Ssmp audits, including 3 with the district and the 2018 Ssmp audit. We do probably 2 or 3 audits a year, and we've been doing them since 2009, really. You can see some of the cities that we've done here. This isn't even a complete list of all the cities we've done these internal audits for. We've seen a lot of different programs and a wide variety of SSMPs. All right, thank you. Next page. So as Scott stated, the internal SSMP audit is required to be conducted once every 2 years. The previous one conducted for the district was in November of 2018. It's supposed to be a comprehensive review of the SSMP document and any supporting documents that go along with the SSMP. And so when we do the audit, we compare both the SSMP versus the state requirements and what the state says you have to have in your SSMP, but also we compare the SSMP versus the actual district practices to make sure it's representative. It's supposed to be more than just a checklist. We've seen other companies that do these audits. They'll just do like a yes or no checklist. Are you doing this? Are you not doing this? But really what the state wants to see is more of a narrative of each of the program elements and what the district has actually implemented or not implemented. Really, this also is an opportunity for program improvement. In these audits, we don't always just want to point out the negatives that we're finding. We also want to point out the positive things and the proactive activities that the district does to help prevent SSO. So it's kind of an opportunity to brag about the district's programs. All right, thank you. Next page. So this is the audit process that we took. So we did an initial kickoff meeting. Of course, everything was done through Zoom and virtually this year. We did a comprehensive review of the SSMP and any supporting documents. As far as the state is concerned, if it's not documented, it doesn't exist for a program. And so the documentation review is really a key element of the audit, just to make sure district has everything for each of the individual programs and things are well documented. When the state does their audit, that's the first thing they do as well, is they'll do a document request. We then conducted staff interviews over a period of days and then prepared the final report. Within the report, we identified any what we call non-conformances. There's both major non-conformances and minor non-conformances. A major non-conformance is something that could result in a serious penalty or a fine from the state. And a minor non-conformance usually results in just a corrective action or notice of non-compliance. Then also within the report, we provided some recommended program enhancements. So I'll go over all of those here in a minute. So here's a brief list of some of the documents that we reviewed. We have a full document request list in Appendix A of the report. If you get a chance to review the actual report, so there's a lot more documents to this than this, but these are the key documents that we reviewed. So SSO data, cleaning history, and then rehab rehabilitation programs are kind of the core things you want to take a look at. Okay, great. Those of you that aren't 100% familiar with the sewer system management plan, these are the 11 elements of an Ssmp. I'm not going to go into all of these elements here today. I'll just focus on the main core elements. But I also want to take this time, we have reviewed a lot of sewer system management plans for a lot of different cities, and the district has a really, really good comprehensive Ssmp. There's a lot of cities who just kind of do the bare minimum just to meet the state's regulations and don't put a lot in their Ssmp. That's really not what the state wants to see. They want it to be a document that thoroughly describes the district's programs, and that's what the district's Ssmp does very well. Okay. These are the staff that we interviewed. So we didn't interview everyone at the same time. We did separate interviews over a few days so that people could feel free to discuss, have good discussions with us and be candid in the conversations. We don't like the interviews to be like us, just grilling them with questions. We try to have open conversations and give, especially like the wastewater maintenance workers, opportunities to provide recommendations for program improvements and things they want to see changed, and then just to talk to them about the program. And so we like to break them up and do them individually. So this is everyone that was interviewed. Great. Okay, so now we can get into our findings. So one of the things we look at closely when we do these audits is just what's been the historical public sanitary sewer overflow trends. And historically, the district has had relatively low public SSOs, but we did notice over the previous 2 years there was an upwards trend in the number of public SSOs, with 1920 being the highest trend over those previous 4 years reviewed. In interviews and conversations with district staff, a lot of the causes of these spills have been corrected and remedied, and we are starting to see the trend going back towards kind of the norm of 0 to 1 SSOs per year in the second half of 2020. So it's just something to keep an eye on. Mainly, you want to try and stay at or below that state average of 3.8 SSOs for similar sized sewer systems. So we don't compare it against tiny systems. We don't compare it against really large systems. We like to try and find all those collection systems that are the same size as the districts. Okay, thank you. So when we talk with the state also, when they look at what are some of the triggers for them to go out and conduct audits for sewer agencies, they're not necessarily looking at total SSO numbers, because they want sewer agencies to be very honest in the spills that they have. Even if they have a very small spill that's 5 gallons or less, they want them to be reporting those numbers. So they don't want to penalize you for having a lot of spills, but what they do look at is the volume of spills that are reaching what they call waters of the state, or surface water. So rivers, streams, and oceans, and how much of a certain spills are being recovered, how good is the response time of the district to spills. And historically, actually, if you even go back more years than what we have here on the graph, the district has done a pretty good job of recovering spills when they do occur. We had some spills in 2019 there that, because of the location of the spill, made it impossible to recover. It's just kind of one of those bad luck things where you have a couple of spills right near channels or storm drain inlets. But usually the district does a very good job in recovering SSOs volumes. Okay. So the preventative maintenance program, the current cleaning frequency goal for the collection system is once every 18 months. District appears to have adequate resources currently, as long as all the trucks are working fine and staff are able to be available for clean. So they have wastewater maintenance workers, a SCADA technician, industrial electrician on staff, combination cleaning trucks, a CCTV trailer that will go out and camera the sewer lines, a utility truck with an outrigger crane that's for lifting out the pumps and the lift stations and doing maintenance on those. And then they have started using contract cleaning companies to supplement the district cleaning in case staff or trucks or something are down, so they don't fall behind in the cleaning frequency. And we'll talk about the cleaning frequency a little bit more in our findings. The district has a comprehensive lift station maintenance program. There's daily, weekly, monthly maintenance that happens with the lift station. And even recently, the district implemented an annual inspection program for the air release valves, just to make sure they're functioning properly and there's no issues with those. The district also performs root foaming. They have 12 current sewer segments that they conduct root foaming at every 3 to 4 years. And if a segment is identified to have heavy roots, then they'll add that segment to the root foaming list. But the root foaming appears to be effective in those locations at controlling roots. District also performs adequate education and training for the staff. So all of the staff members have what we call the CWEA operator certification of at least a grade 1 and 2 with a grade 4, which is the highest certification. And the district also has adequate equipment and replacement parts and a complete inventory of all those parts. So adequate parts for all the lift stations, additional pumps, and also equipment for the trucks. Okay. So SSO response. District has an emergency response plan in place, and it was recently updated, which is good. And they also have contingency plans are in place for the lift stations or are also in the process of being developed. Staff are adequately trained in SSO response. They do annual refreshers, and they're very familiar with the emergency response plan, and they have the plan on all of the vehicles. And so they're very knowledgeable of all the procedures to respond to a spill. They also have the necessary resources available, including backup pumps, generators, utility bags, and of course, lots of sandbags to help block off storm drains. The sewer system master plan is nearly complete. This says completion December 2021, but it should be December 2020. It's completed 2020, and then it's going to be adopted here in 2021. For the new master plan, the district utilizes their GIS to conduct hydraulic modeling of the sewer system to ensure adequate hydraulic capacity. And there were no hydraulic deficiencies identified through that modeling. So there's adequate capacity within the sewer system currently, no issues. The master plan identifies a lot of force main rehabilitation projects. These are kind of going to be the main projects of the master plan, upcoming master plan. You can see some of the projects listed here. And they're also prioritizing structural defects for repair. So in the previous master plan and previous round of CCTV that the district did, they identified all of what we call grade 5 structural defects, and those were prioritized and repaired. And now they're focusing on all the grade 4.5s or higher for repair. And there's approximately 30 sections for those. Okay. As I mentioned, the grade 5 structural defects and capacity issues were already previously addressed. 311 line segments and 72 protruding laterals were repaired as part of that program. District has done a really good job in reducing, we call it enhanced maintenance locations or hotspot locations. In 2010, there were 95 hotspot locations, and currently in 2020, there are now 18 hotspot locations. We actually reduced them down enough that the hotspot committee meeting is determined to be no longer necessary to meet on a regular basis. So we'll just keep monitoring the hotspots, and if they start increasing again, then we'll keep an eye on them. And the district has a CIP to address the ongoing sewer system management needs and available funding for the projects planned in their CIP. And on the next slide here, you'll see a breakdown of the CIP. And so you can see all the different projects here, and then it's a little bit, I know, challenging with here to match the colors for colors. So we're gonna actually update this chart to include the project number and the actual pie chart with the color, so it's easier to find it. But some of the bigger projects here are going to be the pump station reconstruction. That's a large one, and then the 19th Street force main replacement are two pretty good sized projects. Okay. So for the fog control program, the fog control program is actually run and implemented by EEC currently, and similar to the regular program for the district. For the fog program, we track public related, fog related SSOs is a good metric just to track the effectiveness of the program. So similar to the public SSOs, we did see an increase in fog related SSOs over the previous 2 years. These fog related SSOs that occurred though were private and residential, or were residential spills. So we feel like we have in the fog program a pretty good handle on the food service establishments and the commercial buildings and the fog they're discharging to the sewer system. But we may need to start doing more enhanced residential education to help with some of the private or the residential fog related spills. Okay. So in the fog program, we identify and inspect food service establishments, and we use that as an opportunity to provide them with all the necessary educational materials for the district. And in the table, you can see how many inspections we conducted over the previous 2 years for each type of inspection. GRE means grease removal equipment inspection, and BMP means a kitchen best management practices inspection. And you can see the number of kitchen BMP inspections were down over the last year, mainly as a result to the COVID-19 outbreak. So we're not doing as many in-kitchen inspections as before, and there's more of a focus on the grease interceptors and grease interceptor maintenance. For any new or remodeled facility, a grease interceptor is required to be installed. Also are constantly looking for any fog-related hotspots or fog issues in the sewer system, and we focus our inspections on those areas. And we ensure proper fog disposal when the grease interceptors are pumped, that the grease waste haulers are taking it to the right places for disposal. Okay, great. Okay, so now we can talk about the identified nonconformances that we found in the audit. There were no major nonconformances identified, but we did have 5 minor nonconformances. So we'll go over those here. So a common nonconformance in most audits is just that the organizational chart does not accurately reflect district staffing. And with any city or sewer district, you're going to have a lot of turnover. And so it's very common for an org chart to not be accurately reflecting the staffing. And so it's simple just to get it updated. The 18th month cleaning frequency was not met in fiscal year 2018-2019. And speaking with the district, this was a lot due to truck downtime and staffing availability. And so, as I mentioned before, the district has started using contract cleaning companies to help supplement cleaning to make sure they're meeting this 18-month cleaning frequency. The district had not completed the overflow emergency response plans for 4 of the sewer lift stations, but those plans are, in speaking with staff, those plans are in the process of being completed and should be completed here very soon. Okay. So the Ssmp does not accurately reflect the current status of the system evaluation capacity assurance of the district. And mainly this is just in this section of the Ssmp, there's a large table that talks about all the planned rehab and rehabilitation projects and then makes references to the sewer master plan. And so that those sections just need to be updated so that they're accurately reflecting what the district is doing. And then one of our findings from the 2018 audit was the SSO contingency plans for the 4 lift stations. And so because the district had not completed those yet, then that's another finding for the minor nonconformances. So once those plans are completed, then you're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone when those are corrected. And so a lot of these nonconformances will be corrected when the new Ssmp is adopted and implemented. But for the audit, we need to make sure that what we're reviewing is accurately reflecting district practices. Okay. And so these are the recommended program enhancements. These are not required to be implemented by the district. This is just something EEC what recommends doing. So the first one is to consider adding more measurable goals to quantify the effectiveness of the Ssmp. And the district does have on the transparency page in their performance metrics that they review. So we're talking about adding those performance metrics to the Ssmp. To update the Ssmp to reflect the upcoming rehabilitation projects. So like anywhere in the Ssmp where they talk about rehab and rehabilitation projects, just making sure everything is updated. Okay. Identify additional training opportunities for district staff. Training right now is kind of difficult with COVID-19. A lot of the stuff that the hands-on training that staff used to do is no longer available right now. And so just looking for either in-house training, cross training on equipment, or seminars that staff can attend, and making sure that that training is documented. Create and implement key standard operating procedures. So this could be for O&M, maintenance, line cleaning, truck operation, use of the CMMS tablets, just any sort of procedure. So if a new staff is hired, they can have those procedures to review and be on the same page. Update and ensures the sewer standards include new technologies. So any recent new technologies for rehab and rehabilitation projects, you just want to make sure that the sewer standards are all up to date, so you're not limited on what can be used. And then conduct emergency bypass training for what we call high risk lift stations, basically any area where you could have a large sewer spill. All of the staff needs to make sure that they're trained on how to bypass the lift station and basically where you're going to bypass it to, where's the downstream manhole that it's going to go to, and how are you going to do traffic control and all of those things. It's good to do kind of real world training on that. Great.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Can I ask you a quick question, just because you're on the topic?
Sure.
So, of the 4 lift stations who that still was on the list from the 2018 that needed a contingency plan,
Yes.
were any of those 4 stations high risk lift stations?
That's a good question. I would have to go back and look at their locations, and I'm sure probably at least one of them could be a high risk station. I believe the issue why their plans were not completed is because they were deemed for decommissioning, and then they were decided to not be decommissioned, instead be refurbished and replaced. And so I would tentatively answer yes. There's probably some of them that are high risk, just because any lift station really, I mean, if you have a big spill there, it could be big just because of the amount of water that's going through them. But a lot of high risk, what we mean by high risk, it also is just the location, so like the one, sorry, I don't know the name of it off the top of my head, but the one that's right next to the bay, if you have another spill there, then it could be a lot of water going directly into the bay.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, no problem. Okay, great. So did we do page 22? I'm not sure. Okay, and so the last few here, similar to the simulation, to the bypass training, recommend conducting periodic SSO simulation training. The Orange County Sanitation District used to have a really good SSO simulator, but of course they're not doing that anymore at this time. And so really this just could be kind of in the parking lot, at the district yard, where they dump known volumes of water on the ground, and then practice like damming off areas to stop the water, and how much sandbags do you need to use, how much sand does it take to stop a spill, and then they can practice filling out the forms, and so there's a lot of different simulation training you can do to continue to practice. Kind of a picky recommendation is just standardizing the term for hotspots throughout the Ssmp. It's referred to both as enhanced maintenance locations and hotspots. And so just using one term for it is recommended. And then developing a standard operating procedure for interactions with the city of Costa Mesa. This goes towards the plan review process and new plans that come in, and new customers that are opening up businesses, and just the procedures for going to the city and receiving the plans, and then going through the plan review and permitting process. and then also identifying new facilities that are coming into the district on a regular basis. And then just continue the residential education at fog-related hotspots, and even do enhanced focus education where there's been recent SSO issues or blockage issues. Okay. I think
Joe,
yeah.
could I ask a couple questions?
Certainly.
With those, have those three residential fog-related sanitary sewer overflows, have any of them do any of them need to be put on the hotspot list or the enhanced, whatever we call it now?
Right.
I mean, they only happened once.
Yeah.
Um,
Not that I'm aware of right now. It's one of those things where, yeah, having one incident as a spill, you don't necessarily want to put it on a list and then start cleaning it more frequently than you need to. But it would be worth just following up with them maybe before the next round of cleaning, just to double check it and make sure it's still doing okay in that area. What you don't want to have, obviously, is a repeat spill in a location.
Yeah.
And so you don't necessarily need to add it to the list, but it is worth just doing a follow-up at those locations to make sure everything is still flowing fine.
Yeah, and maybe a little background. The sanitary districts had a long history related to the creation of the Ssmp. When I worked for the Orange County Sand District, we wanted to create the waste discharge requirements, and there were a lot of different aspects that the 25 member agencies weren't familiar with. And, the Ssmp was one of the things that was the necessary focus of what became the waste discharge regulations in 2002 for the Santa Ana River Basin section. And the principal author of that first draft Ssmp was a sanitary district employee named Rob Hamers. And so in 2002, the local Santa Ana Regional Water Quality Control Board enacted the waste discharge regulations, including the Ssmp, and including the Ssmp. And the state then saw the benefit of that and took it, made it a part of the entire state of California and created a statewide waste discharge regulation. And that Ssmp basically, has been improved a little bit over the years, but it basically has the same tenets that Rob Hamers wrote in, for the first local regulation. So, staff, a lot of credit goes to Rob. He researched all across the United States for what potentially could be part of that Ssmp. So the district has a long history with what Joe has just explained. So a little history lesson.
Thank you.
Thank you, President Newton. I'd like to open it up to any other questions. Do any of the other members have questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Daniel. Joe, you said that the fog-related SSOs are on a 2-year increase in private residences mainly. I'm curious how apartment complexes are being counted. Is each individual apartment a private residence, or is the entire complex itself considered a private residence?
Right. Well, they typically an entire complex like that will have one main sewer connection. Sometimes they have more than one. So you do it kind of by parcel in the buildings, but we do look at those as being what we call higher risk areas where you have what we call high density residential occupancy. So certainly large complexes like that, apartment complexes, any type of like condo where you have, you know, a main association and then a lot of residents. Those are usually a higher focus for residential education than single family residences would be. That's usually where you see more issues are coming from, those kind of high density residential areas. And so, so a lot of times there, what we'll do is we'll go to, if there's a homeowners association or a general management for the complexes, and talk to them about, you know, the fog issues that we're seeing, and then go through and provide education to each of the individual residences within those units.
Thank you.
Sure.
I have a follow-on question to that. So if the fog issues are in a residential area, do you notify the residents in that area so that, you know, there's that, so that they're educated, or how do they find out about this?
So yeah, you would follow up with them, and you can use a recent spill as a good tool to say, you know, we've had issues in the sewer system in your area due to fats, oils, and grease, and here's some educational materials to help limit that accumulation, or limit your discharge to the sewer system.
How is that education performed? Is there like a email or door to door? How do they know?
So, and I guess Scott, correct me if I'm wrong here, but there's a combination of things. We do have both. There's both. The district has a kind of a newsletter or mailer that can go out, and also we do door to door, like door hangers, that can be provided to the residents as well.
Yeah,
So
primarily what we do, if it's a certain neighborhood that we believe is contributing to fog, we'll get their addresses and do mail outs. We'll mail a letter out to the homes with maybe with attached brochure on the proper way of disposing fog. We also just recently did a campaign on fog and the proper way of disposing grease, where we create a video and we distribute that on social media. Hopefully some of you might have seen that. I know on her staff worked really hard on putting that video together. So and then usually like every other newsletter, there's always something about fog, particularly during the holidays, when we find a lot of people will fry their turkeys. And when you fry your turkeys, you know, that's the easy 5 gallons of grease. Well, what are you going to do with that grease? Well, in years past, we had a fog recycling program at Orange Coast College Recycling Center, where residents could bring their 5-gallon bucket of grease, and we pour it into vats, and then eventually that grease gets taken and recycled at no cost to us or to OCC. With the pandemic, as you know, the recycling center has been closed. So during this past year, during the past month of right after Thanksgiving and all through the month of December, we had a temporary drop-off site at HQ. And we did collect I'd say about 30 gallons of grease, which is not your standard amount we collect every holidays. Usually after the holidays, we collect anywhere between 150 to 200 gallons of grease from the holidays. So it was obviously a lot less, but in my mind, that's still 30 gallons that's kept out of the system. So yes, that's a success. So that's one of our constant campaign is reminding people not to pour the grease down the drains. It's a challenge for us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Scott, for the ones you collect, do those get processed as organics?
They collect when they collect that LC, they take it to a rendering facility, and they make the grease into other products. They don't take it to CRNRs. Now you can dispose your grease in your organics carts, and the anaerobic digesters will take it. They like the grease, but we tell but you're pouring grease in the container, it can get kind of sticky and messy. Sure. And so it's up to you, the resident, how they want to do it. At OCC Recycling Center, it's collected and it's taken to a different rendering facility where it's recycled into like soap or candles. I think pet foods and kibbles use it as well. So it's reused to other type of products.
Okay, thank you.
Scott, I'm wondering if that HQ collection will be available for the rest of the year.
No, we just limited it to the month, only because, you know, we were concerned that if it gets too busy, you know, we'll have grease slopped all over the parking lot and all over the property. That was a concern. That was an issue that they're having at OCC. They warned us about, and so we just really wanted to make it a temporary short term. So that's why we only kept it for a month. We figured, you know, if after Christmas, you know, we give them at least a week to dispose of their grease after Christmas. Most of the grease from the holiday cooking comes after Thanksgiving, as you can imagine. So at least it was open for a month after Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Mr. Jenkins, Adam Arith here. If you can you please briefly describe the methodology you use to assess high and low risk?
High and low risk, you mean for the lift stations or for?
Yes.
Okay. A lot of it is the location of the lift station and its proximity to waters of what we call, you know, waters of the state, or the channels for the bays and that sort of thing. So it's that, and it's also the size of the lift station, the amount of flows it receives, and the area that it's in. Okay. So it's kind of those two factors. So if you have a lift station that's more kind of centrally located within the city, and you have a spill there, then you can have more of an opportunity to even block off the storm drain channels where it's getting into before it can reach the main channels that are going out to, you know, into the rivers and then eventually the oceans or bays.
Okay.
So a lot of it is proximity. A lot of it also is just difficulty in setup and traffic control. And so if you have a lift station area where there's high traffic control areas, or maybe you have a long, difficult bypass to set up with the pump and then the bypass down to the next sewer location, is also a factor.
Are you using GIS in that methodology?
Yeah, so it's a combination of GIS and then also you know, real world just field site visits.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Jenkins, regarding the rise in SSOs, did any of the recent ones involve sewage dumping into Newport Bay?
That's a good question.
I can address that.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank you.
yeah, we did have one spill in 2018. It was the air release valve that was located on the Eldon Force main inside the Mesa Drive bridge. And that's the one that spilled underneath the bridge and onto the 55 right away. Yes, that did get into the channel and into the back bay where the healthcare agency did decide to close the beaches. So that was the one spill, I think, in the last 5 years that we had to close the beaches.
And we were cited for that one?
No, we weren't. We were talked to. I know we did have a meeting with the regulators. We had a face-to-face meeting. We gave them all of our documentations, all our pictures. We showed them, you know, how it was a regional cooperation to collect and capture the wastewater, and haven't heard from them. Never heard from back them again. So no, we did not get fined on that spill.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. And then Mr. Jenkins, oh, sorry, Sue, can I just have one last question? I was pleased to see that you mentioned that EEC Environmental is also the administrator for the FOG program.
Yes.
And the FOG program is only one part of the Ssmp, but given Scott's comments about objectivity and a fresh perspective, I just was wondering if you could address what measures your company took to try to ensure objectivity in assessing that portion of the Ssmp during the audit.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Very good question. And so, yeah, certainly being objective, especially in the FOG portion of it, you know, is really important. And so we did have staff outside who aren't as directly, you know, I'm pretty directly involved with the FOG program at EEC. And so we did have other staff members review the FOG program and our basically metrics that we use to evaluate the effectiveness of the program, to determine, you know, is there anything that needs to be improved? is there any significant findings that can be identified? So at EEC, a little bit more about EEC, we have kind of two sides of our house. We have an engineering side, and the engineering side is the one that manages the different fog programs that we do. And then we have an environmental side. And the environmental side does a lot of like groundwater remediation projects and soil remediation type stuff. And so we have some people with good regulatory backgrounds in those areas who we choose to take a look at our fog program. And then using, I mentioned we had Keith Silva also. He is a very good regulatory mind for these types of things. And so he's very critical of different findings. And so, we try to also, use the statistics too as the measure. Are we meeting our goals in terms of how many inspections we plan to do from a year to year? And again, are the fog related SSOs, staying under control?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Member Lester?
Yeah, I have a quick question. I'm not sure, Mr. Jenkins, if this would be best for you or if Scott can answer this question, or maybe both of you. But to circle back to the 4 lift stations that were on the Ssmp audit from 2018 that didn't end up getting their emergency contingency plan. You said they were scheduled for decommissioning, and then for some reason they weren't decommissioned. I'm just curious, like what constitutes the reasoning behind decommissioning a lift station and then not doing it? And I'm sure the answers for each one might be different, but just to get an idea.
Well, I can.
Well, we can spend a whole meeting just on this topic, committee member Lester. I mean, it's a long history and a process on this. We originally there were 6 pump stations that were planned for abandonment, and how they were being planned for abandonment is that we were in partnership with Orange County Sanitation District, and they were going to create a new pipes, gravity pipes that would replace the lift stations. However, as we were getting closer to kick this thing off, OCSD decided not to do it because they'd have to run a huge pipe underneath the Santa Ana River. And they said that was just too risky, too costly. It just was not worth the risk to do that. So OCSD, politely pulled the plug and said, no, we don't think it's a good thing to do this. And so we came to agreement. Okay, fine, we won't do it. So once that decision was made, now now we're going to keep those 6 stations. Now we had to create the emergency response plan. And Rob did complete 2 of the 6, but then as you know, he suddenly passed away. And so now I think Mike Benesh is currently working on the process right now and finishing up the remaining 4. But yeah, that was the reason why we decided not to abandon those, because of OCSD's decision that it was just too costly and risky to pipe underneath the Santa Ana River.
Oh, okay, thank you. And I was just asking because it didn't seem to me like scheduling something for decommissioning is something that you do often, and then you wouldn't follow through on it. So it was basically a one-off. It was a weird thing that happened with OCSD. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, no, trust me, we the fewest pump stations, we would rather much have fewer pump stations to maintain because they are very challenging and they're very expensive to maintain. So we were we were pleased that, hey, we're gonna get 6 of these stations off our books and no longer have to worry about them. But things change, and so now we have them to stay, and we're just gonna have to be vigorous in our maintenance and our replacements and just do the best we can.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Does anyone have any other questions for Mr. Jenkins? Okay. Well, I would just like to commend the district for hiring an outside consultant to help ensure objectivity, and also to EEC. This is clearly such a detailed audit with great enhancement suggestions. Thank you everyone for your hard work on this.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Okay,
you, Joe.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good meeting.
you too. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, so the next agenda item is item B4, amendments to the sewer system management plan, the very same Ssmp.
Yes.
We've been asked to review the changes to the Ssmp and decide if we recommend that the board approve the changes and recertify the revised document. Scott, would you like to?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, so back on September 9th, the staff presented some draft amendments to the Ssmp. And again, part of the regulation states that every 5 years, you should really take a hard look at your plan. And if there's some significant changes to your plan that were made to the document, then you need to recertify it. Well, the last time we had any significant change to the plan was back in 2015. And so from 2015 to 2020, a lot has changed. And so that's why we submitted those draft amendments to the CEC on September 9th, because they were significant, asking for your comments and feedback. We're presenting it back to you tonight because now we made some more changes to the plan after the findings, we received the findings from EEC on their audit. So the additional changes that they have now that were different from September 9th are basically most of the recommendations and enhancements that were made by the EEC. So we incorporated that in the plan. So we're seeking your comments and suggestions tonight, and then we'll present the plan to the board. The board did review the plan yesterday. So then they're going to review the final plan after receiving your comments on the 25th, January 25th. Well, they'll consider adopting and recertifying the plan.
This is Chair Katz. I thought overall it was very strong management plan, and it did a great job of integrating the audit corrections and enhancements to make it even stronger. I did notice on page 3, this is such a minor thing, but there's a paragraph that starts with the term "in the past 5 years," and it references awards from like 2012 and 2016 that I think either we should update with new awards that we've received since, or change the number on that.
Thank you.
And I apologize, I wasn't at the September 9th meeting because I was with my newborn baby, so I apologize that I didn't catch this stuff sooner.
Sure. No, thank you. No, it's good comments. Thank you.
And then this is more of a question than a revision maybe, but regarding the NASCO pipeline assessment condition program.
Yes.
Mouthful.
Yes.
I just was wondering generally, do any of these assessments like this or the other ones take into account the pipeline's ability to withstand like a major seismic event, like say I don't know, Richter scale size 6 earthquake, given the clay pipelines, and has that been addressed? I just didn't see anything regarding that.
Well, as far as the actual pipelines, that's a good question. I don't have to look into that. I know as far as the pump stations go, we did do, oh gosh, I'd say about maybe 8 or 9 years ago, we did do a seismic study on our stations. And so we had a structural engineer do an assessment on all our stations. They made some recommendations like we need to bolt down our enclosure cabinets, which we did. There was also some improvements where the pipes going into the stations, they needed to be, I don't know how to word it, but the concern was if there was an earthquake, then those pipes can be seared, so could be seared off. So we have to make enough room in the pipe where the pipe can move along when the earth moves, so there's no disruption in the pipe. So when we remodel our stations, we make sure we do that. We have done that a lot of our recent stations, but as far as just pipelines in the ground, that's a good question. I don't.
I can speak to that.
Okay.
Okay.
In the major earthquakes, generally what will happen is with vitrified clay pipe, it might be sheared, but generally it's not sheared, it's not displaced so much that the water can't find a way through it.
Okay.
So in Napa, there were considerable number of breaks in the vitrified clay pipelines, but the sewage continued to flow.
Mm-hmm.
In a major earthquake, the water lines oftentimes, are broken also, and so there was considerable less sewage for a short period of time. But in the vitrified clay pipe, it just moves a little bit, and the water generally can find a path through it.
Yeah,
With-
that's a good comment, nice comment by President Un, because he is right. I know after the Napa earthquake, I did reach out to the general manager at the Napa Sanitation District, and I asked him, did you have any issues with your sewer system? And he said, no. You know, we were pretty much skate free. You know, not like the water district where they were having pipes breaking left and right in the water district. So the water pipes, but the sewer pipes, they seem to be, they did okay.
Okay. Thank you. Does anyone from the CAC have any other questions or comments? Okay. Hearing none. Okay, we'll move forward. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very valuable document.
Thank you.
Okay, the next agenda item is B5, the CMSD sustainability checklist for businesses. But I saw that it's being postponed until January 2022.
Yes, I'm gonna have, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm gonna have Nabila Guzman give a brief report on this item. So I'm gonna turn it over to Nabila.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board of the committee. The sustainability checklist for businesses was scheduled to be presented to you today, but due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, this program has been put on hold. The Costa Mesa Sanitary District adopted the 2020-2025 strategic plan that includes strategies to reach the district's main objectives over the next 5 years. The sustainability checklist for businesses was included in the strategic plan under partnerships. The goal is to work with other businesses to promote an awareness of sustainable practices that will encourage a shift in behavior and daily practices to focus on protecting the environment and public's health. To achieve this, district staff will eventually be creating and implementing a sustainability checklist for businesses. Those who qualify can be highlighted through the district's outreach channels. Currently, the business community is dealing with a lot of restrictions because of the pandemic, so implementing a program now would be too difficult. The creation of this program has been placed on hold until January 2022, and at that time, staff hopes to be able to ensure that this program is successful. Staff is requesting that the Citizen Advisory Committee discuss what this sustainability for businesses checklist can look like and recommend at least 3 checklist items.
And to clarify, you wanted to have the brainstorming tonight, not in the future when the program's going to be
Yeah, it's totally up to you, Madam Chair. We said that we created a schedule for the CAC. We just want to make sure we're sticking to that schedule.
Okay.
That's why we had this item on the agenda. If you want to table it for discussion later, we can do that too. But it's totally up to what you want to do, Madam Chair.
I think, I mean, certainly planning ahead would not be a bad thing. I mean, things may change as we know what the new normal is, but I think having a brainstorming discussion to kick it off is a great idea. I do want to mention, though, I apologize on item B4. I forgot to call to see if the CAC approved recommending to the board. I think there was a motion that we needed to do that I skipped inadvertently.
Nabila, can you go back to number 4? Was that the recommendation?
Nolani.
Or Nolani?
I
Sorry,
didn't.
Nolani. So we're on 5 right now. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I apologize. Yeah, it wasn't just a receive and file.
Yes, you're right. It was. So yeah, we are seeking action. So thank you. Madam Chair.
Apologize for that.
No worries. No worries.
Would it be best to go back, or should we continue?
Yeah, you can go back and see if anyone has a motion.
Okay, my apologies, everyone. So going back to item B4, the amendments to the sewer system management plan, we've been asked to review the changes to it and decide if we want to recommend to the board that they approve the changes and recertify it. So would anyone like to make a motion approving that?
I can move to approve. It's Andrew.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Excellent. Any further questions or discussions? Okay, hearing none. We'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving the revised Ssmp and recommending that the board approve the changes and rectify the revised document, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you. Sorry again for the confusion.
Oh, no, not at all.
Okay, so going back to item B5, the sustainability checklist for businesses. I just had a question. Is this something, is the intention to work with I believe there was someone that President Uten was making a meeting with possibly in January of this year from the city of Costa Mesa, like a sustainability planner. Is the idea that this would be something that we would do in collaboration with the city?
No. So this was brought up by brainstormed by staff. So it was, we have a lot of businesses in Costa Mesa that may use reusable silverware or other silverware instead of plastic. So maybe highlighting businesses that are, making an effort to be eco-friendly, or who don't use styrofoam, who use compostable utensils or compostable packaging. So it's just a way of highlighting that their business aligns with our goals of reducing waste and just making better choices. So the checklist again was just, it could be, do they have solar panels on their roof? It doesn't necessarily have to be related to trash. It can just be overall, are you reducing your carbon footprint?
Okay.
So that was just kind of the idea. Again, it has not been developed or staff has not had a meeting on this. So we would love to hear what the CAC has to recommend. You guys live in the community, you guys shop locally, you guys you visit a lot of these businesses to eat or to shop. So we'd just love to hear what kind of ideas the committee has. And also in ways that we could highlight them. Is it just a shout out in the newsletter or in social media enough?
Well, that's why I was asking is, I have to admit, I was kind of looking at other cities to see what they've done just to kind of jumpstart my thoughts on this. And I found out the city of Portland has like a really simple tiered system where it's like silver, gold, I don't remember, platinum. And then it kind of like, again, they were with the city, but it was kind of a way for businesses to highlight, oh, I'm a gold level, I'm doing this level of so. But it seemed in their case, it was quite intensive. They had like a sustainability coordinator and it was pretty immense, but it seemed like something that could possibly work, especially if the city of Costa Mesa would also kind of highlight the businesses. My concern was more after COVID, it might be hard for businesses to invest in doing some of the things that might be more costly, but even like basic things like setting printers to default to double-sided printing or installing LEDs instead of incandescent bulbs, things like that could be just simple ways to start maybe.
Yeah. Well, that gives us a good start too, to look at the city of Portland. I know they're very progressive on sustainability. They really are.
Yes.
But that gives us a good start of maybe something that we can create. That's great. Thank you.
There was another one I saw too, that some businesses, this might work better for restaurants, but and that was the other thing. They broke it into different types of businesses, like restaurants, offices. I forget what the other categories, but I think they had 4 categories. But for restaurants, have the business reward customers who bike or walk or take public transit instead of an automobile. Maybe they get a free, I don't know, drink or a discount of some kind.
Wow,
Have a recycle bin anywhere there's a trash can, and signage to clarify what is recyclable and what is trash.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm talking a lot, though. I'd like to open it up to the.
Those are all great ideas.
Thank you.
Great.
But
Yeah.
I'll open it up to the broader committee.
No, keep going. Keep going.
I love at the district headquarters, actually, that water fountain that fills up water bottles, and it counts how many times it saved like a water bottle. I find that very satisfying. I really miss it.
Oh, okay. I have no idea where we got it, but that's great.
Yeah. But it gives you like a pat on the back that you didn't use another bottle.
Yeah.
And also, I know at the restroom at the district headquarters, I think there's motion sensors on the bathroom lights. Those have always.
Yes, we do have that. Yes. Yeah.
Those are good too.
Oh, awesome.
I know that we have some Boy Scouts or a troop that is involved with recycling the flag. I'm wondering if we can do some sort of program with the Boy Scouts or the Girl Scouts where they could pick up neighborhood recyclables. Something along those lines might be able to help push the agenda.
Yeah, if you know anyone in the Boy Scouts, that'd be really helpful, because right now, to be honest with you, that the Boy Scouts kind of fell off. We don't know where they went. They're not picking up the flags, and so we gotta find a place to put them. We're trying now to work with their headquarters, but the troop that we were working with, they kind of fell off the grid. We don't know where they're at. So if you know any troops that we can contact, that'd be great.
I do, and I think Judith does as well.
Yeah, Judith has her hand up.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe that was troop 337 out of one of the churches around
Yes.
here that did the really nice programs on ending the flags, burning the flags.
Mhm.
They actually did that with ceremony. And they are still alive. They're smaller than they were. Most of the troops are in the area.
If you have a contact, because I think maybe that's at the troop you've been trying to get a hold of, is 337.
Yes, that is the troop that was coming by to collect them, but the 2 contact people I had have not been returning any of my emails.
Okay.
So hopefully, maybe Judith, maybe you have some
I
influence.
can probably get a connection.
Awesome.
Yeah, that would be great.
I'm actually a sponsoring agency representative to a troop and 3 packs. So I think I could do that.
Oh, that'd be so great. Thank you, Judith.
Okay. Anything else for them?
I don't know. What do you think, Nabila? Anything else?
No, just if I can either share my contact information with them, or if I can have their contact info, I can reach out to them.
Okay. Your telephone number is?
I can email that to you.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, this is all good stuff.
Does anyone have any other ideas?
I was thinking that in regards to the sustainability checklist, I know that a lot of businesses, they love posting in their businesses different plaques or awards that they may receive. So as opposed to any internet shout outs or putting them in the newsletter, possibly make some sort of award that's a little bit better than a paper certificate, but a little bit less than a wooden plaque, but something that they can post up to show that they actually did receive those accolades. I think that would really help in them joining in on the effort.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Good point. It gives them a sense of pride, right?
Right.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's good idea. Excellent.
It'd be really nice if we could maintain like a directory of these different businesses that are accessible both on CMSD's website and maybe even the city of Costa Mesa.
Yes.
Tying into that. That's a great idea, Monty.
Yep. Great.
Excellent.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
That gives a good start.
With the Energy and Sustainability Manager for Costa Mesa.
Yeah, Nabila, you've been in touch with her, right?
Yes, Ssmp.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just wondering if she might have some recommendations that might fit the agenda that we're working on right now.
It definitely
That's a
probably
great
needs some
idea.
coordination with the city, because obviously we're not on the business side when it comes to trash. So definitely, you're right. There would definitely be some collaboration with the city.
Yes, that's a great idea to reach out to her, see if she has any items that we can add for this.
Yeah, definitely. That'd be great.
Excellent.
Ms.
All right.
Guzman, this is Adam Arith. So quick question, you're the point person on the sustainability efforts, at least on this front, is that correct?
For trash, I oversee the trash contract.
Okay, and as far as Ms. Afterworky and in talking with her, I have to say I'm genuinely surprised that the sanitary district doesn't have more of a stake in the awarding through the recently minted Lead Cities and Communities Gold Award that they just advertised today.
Yeah.
Because last time I checked, it might have been 1 or 2 iterations ago for the Lead Cities and Communities, but I do remember there being several areas where a sanitary district and the efforts to do waste diversion in various shades would actually be counted towards their awarding efforts. So I'm a little bit surprised that we wouldn't be working more closely with the city.
For their lead award, the CMSD did cooperate with them and share our multiple program data. I have not seen that they put out a press release or on social media.
Just came up on Instagram today.
Oh, yeah, we have not been aware. It had been posted on LinkedIn and they did thank the CMSD for participating, as well as SCE. So that is a little surprising, but the CMSD had been aware that our various programs contributed to their award.
Okay, good. That's good to know. I thought for some reason we were left out of the accounting process.
No.
No, they might have not tagged us.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, we just had a meeting with city officials last Monday, talking about SB 1383 and some of the organic programs, and we all agreed that we need to meet more often and collaborate more frequently. And so I think we agreed to meet and have those type of productive meetings like on a quarterly basis. So we're going to get that started here real soon. So that was good, that meeting last Monday.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Carroll.
All right, any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, we'll move forward to closing items. Committee member and staff comments. I have 3 quick items, then I'll open it up to the floor. I wanted to make sure everyone on the CAC is aware that there have been some pretty big changes recently. Due to the November election, Director Brett Eccles has replaced President Ferryman on the board. I'd like to thank President Ferryman for his over 30 years of service to the district and welcome Director Eccles. We look forward to working with him. And as of the December 21st Board of Directors meeting, the board president is now Bob Ooten and Mike Schaefer is the vice president. And lastly, as was mentioned by both President Ooten and Scott, many of you will remember District Engineer Rob Hamers. And about a year ago, he passed away unexpectedly. And it's been a lengthy search, but the district announced today that they selected Mark Esker to become the new district engineer. He has over 35 years experience and was previously with Orange County Sanitation District as the engineering manager for I think 20 years or more than 20 years. So we look forward to working with him as well. So I just want to make sure everyone was up to date on those pretty large changes. Any other comments or questions from the CAC members or staff?
Thank you, Chair Katz, for mentioning about our new hire with Mark Esker. We're really excited to have him start. He's got a wealth of experience and knowledge in the wastewater industry. His first day with us is going to be February 1st. So that's when he'll be on board. And so I'm sure you'll be seeing quite a bit of him in the near future.
Excellent. And I thought I saw that President Ooten brought him on to Orange County Sanitary District.
I hired him, and Mark worked directly for me for probably 15 years before.
Oh, wow.
And I've been retired for 15 years, so.
Excellent. Oh, I look forward to hearing from him.
Yeah, he's an excellent choice. I was totally astounded and pleased that that he'll be Costa Mesa Sanitary District staff engineer.
Excellent. Great. Any other comments or questions?
I'll just say that, Bob, I've never met you, but I work at Orange County Sanitation District, and it was Mark Esker who hired me.
Oh, really?
Yes.
When did you go to work there?
I started in 2012.
Yeah, I retired in 2005. So.
Yeah. So he hired me and I worked for him for the first 3 years until I switched to another department.
Very good.
Small world.
Yeah.
It is. Excellent. Okay. If there are no other questions or comments, okay, hearing none, I will adjourn the meeting at, I have 7:23 p.m. Our next meeting will be Wednesday, March 10th via teleconference. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you,
Happy
everyone.
New Year.
Happy New Year's. Good
Thank
evening,
you.
everyone.
Nice.
Bye-bye.
Be safe.
Bye.
Be safe.
You too.
Bye.